I mean, crooked Hillary spent 3 or 4 times more money than us, right? So crooked Hillary, you should lock her up, I'll tell you.
That was President Trump last night at a campaign rally in Ohio as he and his supporters once again revived their Hillary Clinton taunts. The lock her up chant coming at the very same time that sources tell CNN that the Trump Justice Department is winding down its review of Clinton's business dealings. After 2 years, they have not found enough evidence to warrant a criminal investigation, and that includes a conspiracy theory pushed by Trump and his allies that Clinton steered a uranium deal to the Russians after a donation to the Clinton Foundation.
In exchange for signing off on the deal, some of the former owners of Uranium One gave the Clinton Foundation millions and millions of dollars in donations. We had Hillary Clinton give Russia 20% of the uranium in our country.
Now, tonight, I want to focus on the real scandal that is rarely covered by this alt-left propaganda destroy Trump media, and it does involve the Clintons and an enormous mining company called Uranium One. I don't know any other way to describe this, except they sold out our security.
Chris Cillizza is our CNN politics reporter and editor at large. I know. Remind us what this whole Uranium One allegation was all about.
Yeah, okay, so it's important to remember that this probe that was run by the Department of Justice, by the way, that Jeff Sessions asked for and is the Trump administration's Justice Department, this was one of a series of probes. Donald Trump kept complaining to Jeff Sessions that they weren't looking enough into Hillary Clinton. Why were they looking to him? So this is one of the offshoots of that. Uranium One is a Canadian company that does do 20% of the uranium mining in the United States. All Hillary Clinton did was not block the deal that allowed a Russian company to buy Uranium One. She didn't play any active role. It was ongoing prior. This was about Donald Trump wanting investigations started. And as you said, and played in those clips, Brooke, and I was reminded, it wasn't just as a candidate that he made these totally false and made up allegations. It was when he was in the White House, February 2017. I think we have to stop and note these things because it's not going to change his behavior. It's not going to change the lock her up chance. But it's still important to say this wasn't true then. It isn't true now. And the reason we know it isn't true is because the Trump Justice Department has said it isn't true. It's also not, Brooke, the first time we have seen stuff like this. Okay, you'll remember, I remember it well. I was sitting at my house scrolling through my Twitter feed in early 2017 when Donald Trump said something to the effect of, I think we have a tweet, terrible. Just found out that Obama had my wires tapped, again, not clear why that's in quotes, in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism. Okay, again, there was no evidence at the time that this was true. Subsequent, every intelligence person who was in office was asked about this. Subsequently, and in the Mueller report, we have found out that is not the case. Donald Trump's line in Trump Tower was never tapped. The closest you get to it was Carter Page through FISA warrants, and that was Carter Page, not Donald Trump. Okay, then there's this one, which is another one that's been around a long time. Remember, Donald Trump won the 2016 election. You remember that because he's currently the president. But he complained that 3 to 5 million people voted illegally. 5 days after the election, 5 days after he was sworn in, he formed an election fraud commission. I will be asking for a major investigation into voter fraud, including those registered to vote in 2 states, those who are legal. It goes on. This is January 25th, 2017. That commission, which, by the way, was led by Chris Kobach, who is running for Senate in Kansas now, that commission disbanded largely because there's never been any evidence of widespread purposeful voter fraud in any election in American history. Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, not exactly a liberal, was asked about this. Let's play what McConnell said.
There's no evidence that it occurred in such a significant number that would have changed the presidential election, and I don't think we ought to spend any federal money investigating that.
Yeah, Mitch McConnell was right. Remember, when it comes to voter fraud, I just want to make this one last point, Brooke. There are times when people vote twice and they are allowed to. These are, in every study that has been done of every election we have had, these are isolated incidents. They are not evidence of some widespread plot Donald Trump, remember, said 3 to 5 million people voted illegally. He's never provided evidence. This is all in keeping, whether it's spying, voter fraud, whatever he's saying in regards to this. It's a conspiracy theory, and in many cases, like these three, it's been debunked.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we went through it, and it is crazy to think back. It wasn't just when he was, a candidate, but when he was president as well.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you. You're fired up about this. David Loffman is joining me now. He's a former Justice Department official who helped oversee both the investigation of Hillary Clinton's email server and Russian interference in the 2016 election. So, David, what did the DOJ findings say to you?
Well, I think we can all be glad that Mr. Huber apparently didn't manufacture a case out of nothing just to placate the Attorney General or the White House, but the fact that this investigation or investigations was undertaken in the first instance is among the lowest points in the modern history of the Department of Justice, and that's saying a lot for this administration, because it was commissioned essentially as a cram down by the White House to pressure the Department of Justice to redo investigations of matters that, according to the public record, had already been determined to lack prosecutorial merit, purely to satiate the president's personal political grievances and conspiracy theories.
You also, just listening to you, you say this sets a dangerous precedent when you just think about DOJ moving forward. What's the remedy?
The remedy is for public officials, whether they're political appointees or career appointees, to do the right thing when someone is asking them to do the wrong thing. And their options are to refuse to undertake what is palpably a politically inspired investigation, contrary to department practice, or to resign. And that's what we want men and women of integrity in positions like Mr. Huber to do when there's political pressure to get them to skew things for political advantage.
Meanwhile, David, as you know, several members of the president's inner circle of his campaign and administration have been indicted, some of them convicted, sent to prison by the DOJ. And while the president has blasted the Clinton Foundation, his own foundation was ordered by a judge to pay $2 million after being accused of unlawfully coordinating with the 2016 Trump presidential campaign. How does President Trump reconcile those contradictions?
Well, I'm not going to try to occupy the space in the president's brain. I'm sure it's possible, though, that he feels like this department isn't fully serving his interests when a U.S. Attorney's Office, which should be doing exactly what the Southern District of New York is doing, following the facts, applying law to facts, is bringing cases that rub up against his personal interests.
David Loffman, thank you, sir.
Thank you.